Next up, it's Mysteries of Nature, an exclusive WRKN program. The elusive Neblina anole is native to the Guiana Highlands and thrives in the many Tapui Mountains found within the ancient plateau. They often enjoy sleeping on fern leaves, staring off into space, and walking on thin air. Expert herpetologist Josh Calloway has given us an exclusive look at these quirky critters. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Josh.
Eve of Extinction is the latest in immersive 3D relaxation software. Travel all over the world, taking in its many beautiful sights and sounds. Encounter exotic wildlife.
Fish move out of the way when you get close to them.
Go on a romantic getaway with your girlfriend. Huh, where is she? Of course, physical activity is important, so make sure to practice your sword skills against the various realistic wooden dummies we've provided. Developed by UKIS and released in 2002, marking the first time something bearing the initials EOE was actually good. Wait, why did he say it like that? It's obviously Ukes. Is he stupid? Well, yes, but also the studio's name is a direct reference to Yukinori Yuki Taniguchi, the founder and producer for most of its games. So who's the dumbass now, huh? United States, early 21st century. The nation is wealthy and its people boast a high standard of living. The biochemical megacorporation Wisdom develops a terrifying new weapon called Legacy by fusing the human nervous system with an ancient substance called orichalcum, or according to the voice actors,
Auriculum.
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 Auriculum is a highly reactive amorphous metal retrieved from the ruins of Atlantis. When attuned to a human's will, it can change into any shape. Wisdom plans to use the legacies to achieve worldwide military control. Josh Calloway and his girlfriend Eliel Evergrande work as researchers for Wisdom. Upon discovering their evil plans, the pair attempts to flee the company and blow the whistle on them, unsuccessfully. Josh is held captive on a Wisdom helicopter, though not for long. One chopper crash later, Josh wakes up to Eliel's voice, who is nowhere to be found. After the two were captured, Eliel was more or less killed, and her soul fused with the strongest legacy prototype, a weapon known as EOE. A Wisdom goon makes it very clear that everything from their meeting and capture to Josh becoming EOE's wielder was orchestrated by the company for some nebulous reason. Nevertheless, Josh and his briefcase girlfriend breach containment and go on an adventure around the globe to destroy Wisdom and hopefully get Eliel's body back. We all know UKIS for developing every WWE game ever, many of which I played in my youth despite having no access to the actual program. All these guys will forever remain video game characters to me. Still, that's not all there is to the studio. They did make a few original games before the wrestling virus took over, like this cute looking platformer, or Evil Zone, or Alpine Racer, or the two Berserk games, and of course, Eve of Extinction, the Dog Island. This lineup is almost interesting enough to deserve its own video, but if I have to go on another multi-game pilgrimage after last month's video, I may just visit my local Toys R Us. Eve of Extinction is their attempt at making a cinematic action game with quick and flashy combat, something totally detached from those sweaty man slap fights they'd grown so fond of. Were they successful? Well, I played through the whole game without throwing up. That counts for something. Eve of Extinction takes a lot from Chinese martial arts, and its many exaggerated depictions in film and anime, and does not fall behind its inspirations. There's plenty of over-the-top fights with elaborate choreography, many of which can be totally ruined if you fail their respective QTEs. I don't hate their inclusion, but I think the prompts appear way too quickly, and as a result it's really easy to miss them and make Josh look like a moron. He can do that himself just fine.
Oh, give me a break!
There's a whole extra menu dedicated to replaying these scenes, so you can recover your dignity. As for the combat, there was some effort put towards making it feel seamless and fluid, like a rehearsed performance. The way you can glide around and almost float in the air as if suspended by cables. It's about conveying a certain sensation over being a pure mechanical challenge. Two games with similarly airy theatrical combat I know of are Bujingai and Otogi, both of which ironically have direct ties to the Japanese performing arts. Bujingai is an entire game about Gakuto-sama, being a divine immortal Chinese swordmaster, and Otogi is literally just kabuki theater ran through From Software's usual drab gothic filter. I can't say EOE is better than either of these, but I'm not sure that's a fair or meaningful comparison to begin with. I mentioned Evil Zone earlier. Have you ever seen it? It's a fighting game that takes the concept of playable anime far more seriously than most games that advertise themselves as such. Every character is the star of their own show, more or less. There's title cards, full voice acting and narration, and just like EOE, the combat is about performing the cool anime fights you daydream about over engaging with complex game systems. You have one contextual attack button that changes depending on meter, distance, and various additional inputs. It's a very novel idea, and a genuinely brave attempt to redefine fighting games and what's appealing about them, and it also turns the game into a horribly chaotic mess. But I think the experiment was worth it in the end. Eve of Extinction is much more refined by comparison, though I'm aware that's not a huge bar to clear. Over the course of the game, Josh acquires what feels like 20 different weapons, each represented by a crystal that can be slotted into EOE's hilt to change its form. Some are incredibly useful and overpowered, while others feel like practical jokes, but all of them are pretty weird. You can use the shoulder buttons to switch between them instantly during combat, which is very nice for 2002. Devil May Cry sure didn't have that. Though predictably, it also runs into the problem of having to cycle through all of them, scrambling for the one thing you do want. You have light and heavy attacks, a block, and the triangle button gives every weapon a unique action. Mostly dodges, but they're all very fancy and I enjoyed using them. All weapons can be leveled up through repeated use, and I have no idea why this is in the game. This mostly just means you'll have 2 or 3 mains, and then a pile of neglected boomerangs and water guns or whatever. But even then, all movesets are extremely limited regardless of level. The highest combo strings you'll see are 3 hits long at best, and that's with full upgrades. This makes some sense, as they clearly want you to always improvise and change it up, basically direct the fights instead of playing them. Again, a great idea, but in practice, it just makes the game feel like the Kingdom Hearts parking lot video. Lastly, every weapon has its own special attack, triggered by pressing both sticks at once and then tracing the pattern that shows up with the left stick. This is unreasonably hard to do. Even making the cursor show up requires some obtuse fiddling, and you don't really draw the pattern as you'd expect. Instead, you kind of shoot the cursor across the screen, just hoping it does what you want. It is possible that this is some kind of controller sensitivity or emulation issue on my part, but somehow I don't think that's the case. Every level has you find new weapons, then power them up by collecting lace seeds, and then use their special attacks to progress, putting out fires with a water jet, lifting up a huge boulder with gravity magic, using a shield to walk through steam or breathe underwater. You are also meant to use them during combat, but I honestly forgot to do that most of the time. Here's something bizarre. Josh can unequip all weapons and just go around fisting people. That's fine, but then you realize you can only hold onto ledges while barehanded. A lot of the game's platforming revolves around the bow staff weapon, which gives you a big jump when pressing triangle, meaning you have to jump and then quickly switch to your fists while mid-air to actually make it. It's not hard to get used to, but I'm so confused as to why it works like this to begin with. Josh already has a jump button. Would it really be so hard to just make the grabs automatic? There's a clear intention to the way EOE plays. They were undeniably going somewhere with it, and they get pretty damn close, but I think it gets lost in how weird and awkward the game is all around. It's still pretty amusing and enjoyable, though sadly not in the way they intended. Speaking of bizarre, confusing shit, here's Elio.
A branch office of wisdom. Let's go in. Use the guitar's legacy drive on the fire. You did it! Josh, get the key. Let's get inside the mansion. If we just had a key to this shutter. Josh, a key. Pick up the key. This key should work on a door somewhere. So it was this key. It's open now, let's go. Don't go onto the rail track, it's dangerous. Help me, Josh!
Eve of Extinction might as well be the video game adaptation of that 4chan post with the guy screaming Pinkie Pie Tulpa. So much of the game is occupied by the incessant chatter of your handler girlfriend, reminding you to hold the controller and look at the screen. There is very little in the way of in-game ambience or dialogue. Hell, sometimes there's not even any background music. It's just her. It actually gets kind of freaky. She's everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Sometimes you see her, then she's gone again. She has multiple comments and hints for every single thing that happens on every single level. There are edutainment games from the 90s with less handholding than this. I am always fighting with Eliel for control over Josh's himbo husk. She wants him to breathe and drink water and eat his veggies while I'm just making him repeatedly kill himself. I somewhat doubt the idea that Josh and Eliel met while working at Wisdom. Can you imagine this guy in a lab coat doing human soul experiments? Maybe he was actually a test subject.
Give me a break.
It's very trendy to complain about overly chatty characters in games nowadays. And I won't say this is some brilliant subversion of the concept, but it was weird enough that I was able to internalize it as something other than disrespectful nagging. It's like a reverse lollipop chainsaw, where you're the dumbass boyfriend getting led around by your disembodied tutorial dispensing sweetheart. Even the manual acknowledges it. Everyone had a hard time adapting to 3D graphics once they became the standard, and you can see this manifest in a million ways over hundreds of games. The bulk of these issues were settled in the 5th generation. Some growing pains remained, but most developers had figured out how to make things at least good enough by this point. Curated camera angles for readable and coherent virtual spaces. Something tells me Yuki struggled with this stuff a little longer than most. You see, Eve of Extinction is absolutely terrified of you getting lost or frustrated at any point. The game acts like it's still 1997 and moving the camera might cause you to dissociate. This is not entirely why Eliel is the way she is, but it's a part of the puzzle for sure. What's more, the game's anxiety is totally warranted, because I still got lost despite being bolted to the booster seat. The finest example of brain damage level design comes during the Guyana Highlands. The gimmick for this level is an evil scientist steals all your weapon crystals and you have to get them back via violence. As if being in South America wasn't bad enough. You kill this one mook and he drops the staff. The same area has 2 ley seeds up on the hill, both of which are necessary to unlock a weapon special attack. However, the staff jump is not sufficient here, as explained by our helpful mother girlfriend. We need to combine it with the snake sword ability, that lets you grapple towards enemies in terrain. We do not have the snake sword yet, so we swim back to our previous location, discover a great sword-wielding boss, deal with him, swim back to the previous puzzle area, and find a newly spawned crystal guy who drops the snake sword at the exact same spot as the staff crystal guy. This is so strangely paced. EoE is extremely linear all the way through, and suddenly I'm getting ping-ponged between these different enemy triggers that really should have been put in a straight line. I guess the level is small enough that you'll stumble upon the right path eventually, so long as you're willing to backtrack, but it's still odd as hell. The game doesn't behave like this anywhere else. No wonder they always keep the training wheels on.
Do a high jump with the rod and quickly equip the snake sword to shoot out its blade.
I don't want to make it seem like this game was some train wreck developed by clueless people. Most of it actually gives off the opposite impression. It thoroughly follows the PS2 action game rulebook. There's funny voice acting and big fight scenes and bonus modes and weapons. Josh has a smug double-agent rival character that is secretly working to destroy Wisdom on behalf of his Tonfa legacy girlfriend that speaks ancient Atlantean doomsday prophecies to him. There's the evil CEO final boss, the weird guy, and the hot lady. It does pretty much everything you'd want out of a game like this. It is by no means a failure. However, this also reveals that gamer heuristics are pretty much worthless when it comes to appraising something as real art with meaning and worth. No surprise there. I think my biggest problem with EoE is the lack of edge. This is a game about escaped human weapons, seeking revenge against a company ran by a genocidal tyrant who's lived for hundreds of years and plans to cause the apocalypse just so he can finally die. It's a game that opens on your girlfriend telling you to murder people in the subway over some industrial fighting game music. The premise naturally brings to mind things like Elfenlied, Galarians, Ergoproxy, Prototype, and comprehensively gifted individuals waging war against the world. And yet, what actually happens in it is I run around hitting people with things that are spiritually and sometimes literally pool noodles. Josh is perpetually bewildered by everything, like a cartoon character. It almost feels like it wasn't meant to be this way. Like they just wanted to make Nano Breaker, but had to pull back on all the cool parts to keep the T rating. There are vestiges of style you can come across every now and then. The first level is in this empty Times Square area. You have some amazing stuff like
Computer Technology 2001.
There's a basketball court, the aforementioned subway, this dingy apartments area, and who could forget the Chinatown level with its ethnic Chinese video games. Oh, Jeff Keighley must work here. The same level later has you scale a giant Buddha statue, fighting dudes every step of the way, and it kinda sucks. Later on, the bad guys invite you to an airship as a trap, and their invitation letter is an actual data file you can read, with its own illustration and signature. All the PDA stuff is generally very good. Getting to see all the evil company mail with fancy logos and pictures. You don't need to look very hard to see the effort and creativity put into EOE, and I wouldn't be surprised if a rushed development was to blame for most of its shortcomings. There's this part in Devil May Cry 2, where the corporate bad guys head off to an oil rig somewhere in the ocean. Dante somehow knows where this place is and how to get there. There's a level, a boss fight, and then an escape sequence that ends with Dante riding off on a motorbike, except this is still supposed to be an oil rig in the middle of the fucking ocean. Where could he possibly ride off to? Why is there a highway with streetlights on an oil rig? Why is he even on a bike when the level ends with him walking into an airplane? And then the next level drops you in an ancient Mayan temple with just as little context. This is probably the most interesting thing about DMC2, how it's barely a real game and more like a collection of playable scenes. It's like playing a cancelled prototype that was released by mistake. Eve of Extinction is similarly nonsensical and dreamlike while still feeling like a finished product. I know it's blasphemy to compare any game to DMC2, much less positively, but that's what came to mind. Disconnected scenes and cool visuals glued together with combat sequences that often feel like mowing the lawn. I was only half joking when I called it relaxation software, but I've come to find that doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's pretty fitting that UKIS would later go on to make the Berserk Millennium Falcon game. Like with EOE, there's a conflict between flashy, prestigious anime aspirational fighting and the rest of the game, which feels repetitive and haphazard. But lots of people actually love that game for going through the trouble of interpreting the source material into a playable format, fatefully creating a mini Berserk experience, even to its own detriment. I think I know how they feel after playing EOE. I'm not sure UKIS fulfilled their dream of making anime real, but they got closer than most ever will. And what a beautiful dream it is. I leave you with my anger. Sleep well.
Attention parents, if your son has taken Risperdal, there's a chance that he may be diagnosed with gynecomastia. It has been found that Risperdal can have adverse side effects such as gynecomastia, a medical condition where boys develop female breasts. Hold these manufacturers responsible.